tell me, what does the next 12 months or 24 months look like for Urban Platter? What are the new things you're building right now?
My ultimate goal is to actually take the company public.
How do you really educate your audiences through storytelling? What are the different modes of storytelling you use, especially when you have so many 800 plus different products?
We have a studio in Mumbai where every weekend we conduct workshops wherein we educate people how to roll sushi. We educate them how to make Korean food and stuff like that.
Anything that you've learned in the last, say, 3 months, 6 months that you'd like to share?
I used to think that Indians are very hospitable people till I met Koreans. I've never seen hospitality as warm as Koreans.
Yeah. Welcome to Breakthrough Moments by Priyanka Bhatt. Today I have a very interesting guest with me, the founder of Urban Platter, Mr. Chirag Kenia. I think for me, Urban Platter stands for disruption and the innovation and the kind of innovation they've done in the food space, especially with 800 different products across condiments, baking, health-specific food that they serve to a very large diaspora of Indians and abroad. So I'm very pleased to have Mr. Chirag Kenia, who's the founder, today on the show. Chirag, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there, as a guest today. So let's start with understanding what has your journey been and what was it like looking back while you were building the brand?
Firstly, thanks for inviting me, Priyanka. Wishing you all the best for your new endeavor. You've been a part of our journey, and I'm very excited for you. And congratulations on your success also.
Thank you, Chirag.
Yeah. So if very few people know, but actually we just completed 1 decade of being in business on the 1st of June. I completed 10 years in this business. This used to be my hobby. I come from the tech industry, and part of my joy, about a decade ago used to be, selling specialty food products that I would probably discover. And like when I used to travel abroad and, I used to just get a few things, especially coffee. And for the love of coffee, I would say I got into this business. And when my last business wound down, I was at crossroads as to what to do. And I joined this organization as we know it today full time and built Urban Platter. I think if I were to summarize in few lines about what the journey has been, I would say absolutely one of the most deeply enriching, satisfying journeys of my life. I could bring together my understanding and expertise of consumer behavior, e-commerce, passion for food, and most importantly, understanding the expectation of Indian consumer and giving them a product that they probably didn't know they wanted in a language that they understood, and in the process build a very deeply meaningful emotional bond with our customers and build a brand out of it. Lot of learning, very enriching, most importantly, very humbling. And one thing for sure, if we could do it, anyone could do it. It just requires you to be very grounded. It requires you to listen to your customer and believe in your conviction and just follow the path day in and out, probably for a decade.
No, I think that's amazing, Chirag. So congratulations on completing 1 decade. But I'd love to understand, and maybe you can give an overview to the viewer, especially, today's audience is more about aspiring entrepreneurs who've scaled businesses. When did you find the right footing that Urban Platter arrived, or which was that product that made you feel that, okay, we've arrived today in the market?
Okay, so I'll dial down a little to give you a little bit of context as to how we started. When we started, we were a generic third-party gourmet product trader. And we used to sell on marketplaces like eBay and Amazon back in the day in 2015 when we got started. I think the arrival of Amazon completely changed the narrative and landscape of business for us, at least. When I joined this business full time, we were selling about 3,000 imported and gourmet food products on Amazon within a span of 6 to 9 months. And we also became aggregators for companies like Mondelez and many more household names that we know as of today. Yeah. What we used to do is basically just work with them and represent them on Amazon India and build the marketplace. In the process of doing that, we built a lot of understanding of consumer behavior, lot of insights around consumer expectations, pain points, and genuine deep understanding of how to operationally run a complex business like food. We also built infrastructure, teams, and resources that were needed to run a successful business like this. And when all of this started happening, I had an itch inside me which said that if we were to do this for our entire life, we would merely end up becoming, sort of traders, for the lack of better word, and something more meaningful, more purposeful could be done out of this. That is when we, at least I, with a selected few people in the organization, pivoted into building the Urban Platter brand as we know today. We started with some very simple categories, dry fruits and nuts and spices, because we had very deep understanding and a lot of consumer pain points in that category back in the day. What we started doing was just buying these products in bulk, repackaging them into consumer packs, putting Urban Platter logo and starting to sell those things. Very early on, we had incredible traction in these categories. Even today, dry fruits and nuts is our largest contributing legacy category, or spices for that matter, or seasonings for that matter. What we started doing very early on, and today we practice, is we actually listen to the consumer. We actually talk to them. We actually action on the feedback that they give to us. There is absolutely no for an answer that a consumer has in our organization even today. For instance, if you would probably just call up our customer support and come up with a bizarre idea, I don't know, something, give me a rose salt, like just say edible rose salt, they'll actually get back to you with the questionnaire. Why do you want it? How do you want to use it? What is the intentional use cases? How often you would buy it? We would do our diligence and we would actually action on it and probably launch or not launch the product basis our gut feeling.
So there's a lot of education building that you're trying to do with your customer.
Yes.
Through training your teams, you can put it that way.
Yes. So first thing is it's a three-parter strategy, right? First thing is to actually listen to the consumer. Second thing is to actually do your diligence and research and your regulatory compliance and act on it. And third, the last bit is to execute it. So we do all those things in-house, day in and out, and that's how we've built the entire Urban Platter portfolio. In the early on days, like probably 2017 to 2019 frame, we used to get a lot of consumers asking for premium quality olive oil or premium quality ingredients that they would rather not find, and we started importing these ingredients. Then over a period of time, Asian food started getting really popular, especially Korean food and stuff like that. So we started doing that. Around 2017-18 time frame, a lot of vegan food started doing well. I myself became vegan as a consequence of understanding these things better, and we innovated heavily in that category. So every stage of every 2 years we've started sort of pivoting our focus a little, sharpening things and making goods that are relevant to the Indian consumer available to them. As a matter of fact, our company mission is to make specialty and gourmet food available, affordable, and accessible for everyone. That's a very wide-ended statement, and it keeps evolving itself day in and out every 2 years.
Right, that's amazing. So tell me, like, when you're looking at a market like D2C, where there are so many food brands out there, how do you really break the clutter? How do you, because there is so much, and first of all, the market is very unorganized. So when you have to establish yourself as somebody who's doing something new, how do you really go about that process of getting into the mind of the customer, saying, look at me?
So, I am a big believer of the fact that one must only do what one believes in. And authenticity and true quality always makes itself shine out in middle of clutter. If your work is authentic enough, if you are passionate enough about your work, you will go the extra mile, put the extra effort, do that one thing that will differentiate you from the world, and the consumer will notice it out there. A very famous, in fact, one line that our investors have told me and that has stuck with me for a long time is that consumers see through quality. And those are not, that's just not a phrase, it's actually a fact. And quality to a lot of people is a lot of different things. To some, it may be just the quality of the product. To some, it may be the quality of packaging or the quality of experience. To me, quality is consistency. So consumers can see through consistency. What you're consistent about says a lot about your focus, about your priorities, and that's where your excellence naturally tends to evolve in. And I think excellence is the way to go to stand out of clutter. And it's better to be a master of few things rather than a jack of all trades. So that's probably the easiest and most the best way to stand out of the clutter, and that applies to a lot of things in life, more so to D2C businesses. I think
Yeah,
there's
I'm glad you brought up that consistency aspect, because in every business, I think consistency is the key to lead a successful business. So, in your case, coming back to consistency, what does consistency mean for Urban Platter? What did you do right where you felt, okay, we've arrived?
So for us, we did a very few basic things very early on. Back in 2015, when D2C as a term did not exist, or e-commerce was not mainstream, we actually, since 2015, hired and deployed a full-time in-house cataloging team to do photos of products, content of products, to be very original with our approach. It was, we used to actually celebrate when other brands used to copy our pictures and just sell the same product.
It's like
We
going
thought,
back to basics.
yeah, first principles. The other thing is, we actually knew very early on that to scale this business, compliance was going to be very critical. So we hired the right food technologists, the right licensing guys to actually help us build the right foundation for growth. The third thing we did was we hired people who knew operations, because clearly we didn't know operations. So operations is one of the key attributes and key strengths of Urban Platter. If our business doubles down overnight, I will not blink an eye, because we have a very strong operations team. So, focusing on these things enables us to offer very consistent experience day in and day out to the consumer. For us, consistency in attributes like quality, packaging, delivery timelines, overall consumer satisfaction, overall the way the consumer anticipates and acts with the product are the attributes how we define consistency. And getting that right every single time requires a lot of hard work, right people, right approach, right directives from top. So bringing all of these together very critical.
So I think I would just say, simply put it, going back to basics and doing the groundwork of what is really needed to build a brand. Right. So let's come to a little bit about the innovation that you've done, right? You have 800 plus products today, which caters to diverse needs of customers. So how do you really fulfill these needs across so many different categories, so many different age groups? Because food as a business is very complex in India, and consumer preferences and patterns are constantly changing. We constantly want newness as consumers. So how do you really adapt to that? One is, of course, you mentioned about research and knowing your customer. Are there any other initiatives that you all are taking which is helping you to get to the skill?
So multiple aspects matter to these consideration, right? I think first and foremost answer to that would be appetite. As a business, what is your appetite to go deeper to serve the consumer, right? I mean, you could be a one product selling a million units, you could be a million products each selling one unit and still have a great business. And if you can manage all of that quite well, that would be a business well executed. So first and foremost is the appetite of the founding team or the founder. Second thing is your operational maturity to handle the complexness around our business. See, our business is one of the most regulated, very complex business. So usage of technology, usage of right people, right processes, right systems, right discipline, and most importantly, creating an environment where failure is simply very forthcomingly put on the center of the table, discussed and resolved. These are very central attributes to the culture of the organization that help us scale this business. Of late, there are some more considerations like, let's say, capital efficiency, operational efficiency, where we actually decide to not do a few products. At one point, we were actually dealing in about 1,500 products, which has come down significantly to about 800 to 850 today. And
so that helps you manage quality control and manage the quality
so
of
supply chain complexness, consumer expectations. Sometimes we just don't see merit in continuing a few ranges anymore. And to be very honest with you, to do some aspirational things, you actually have to declutter yourselves all the time. So as a business, we keep doing that all the time, and that gives us a lot of agility to play boldly and fastly in avenues that we rather want.
I think that's a great insight, even for people, young startups who want to build their business. Though agility is important, but I think the fact that you said about the declutter the
Yeah.
part that you touched upon. I think it's very important
Very
in a
critical.
business.
Yeah.
Now, even in a business like yours, I think there are so many FSSAI guidelines and restrictions, regulations, which are pretty stringent.
Yeah.
So how do you really deal with those challenges? Have you encountered a challenge in your business, and how did you really deal with that? Maybe.
Phenomenal question. I think this is one area where I would like to touch upon a little bit. So, first and foremost, we have one of the most comprehensive, very well researched, detailed, and executed food systems and food laws anywhere in the world. And this comes out of my decade of experience in importing food, traveling across the world, and understanding food laws across the world. If in spirit and in reality, if one ends up respecting the law, one ends up building resources and systems and processes that actually end up following the reasons why the law is firstly being implemented. I think one has a lot of stable consumer experiences. What we've learned is the law is very straightforward. It does not need any challenging, and when it does need challenging, FSSAI is one of the probably only food systems or food laws in the world where they actually hear you out, and they have taken feedback from middle sized operators like us and actually made amendments to the law. So be very forthcoming with the law. I would say work with the right agencies, work with the right partners who would get your business to be compliant for any new startup coming out there. Food business is not as easy as we think it should be, and it's not
Yeah.
as complex as others make it out to be. It's somewhere right in the middle is what I like to say popularly.
Right.
And having advice of right agencies, right licensing partners, like Equinox Partners is one of the great partners that we work with early on. Of course, now we have our in-house teams handling all of our compliances and complexnesses,
Yeah.
but very straightforward. I think as a company, it's in our DNA to respect the law of the land and build on top of it. That really helps us to stay very grounded, very humble, very law respecting, and very scale friendly. And I would encourage all businesses, irrespective of their scale, to actually embrace this culture. It gives you a lot
Right.
of peace of mind when you sleep at night.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is the one piece of advice that you would give for an aspiring startup founder who wants to start a business in the food space?
I would say get your product market fit right. Understand your consumers. Most businesses of late don't understand their consumers. They actually make products that they end up liking. They focus too much on products and not necessarily on understanding their consumers quite well. I think as a marketeer yourself, you would also understand that a lot of brands actually focus too much on building the narrative and not necessarily communicating it in the right language to their
Yeah,
target audience, and that's where
absolutely.
professionals like you can help them. But one thing for sure, I mean, understand your consumer, talk to them in a language that they understand, and don't try to be everything for everyone. You'll end up being nothing for no one. Just be
Yeah, that's a
good at
good
one
insight.
thing. Yeah.
So, when you say understanding your consumer, can you dig a little deeper into how do you do it? What is your process like? Do you look at focus groups? How do you approach them? Do you do some surveys? It'll be nice to give an audience some hint of how you actually go about understanding consumers, because sometimes a lot of the big guys, like when you look at a DMart or a Kishore Biani, for example, Future Bazaar, right? Till date, we read articles of them that they have actually gone on ground to understand consumer behavior, to see what products are working on what type of shelves, for example. And you also have now 3 physical stores in Mumbai that you've opened up. So it'll be also interesting to understand how do you do that consumer behavior process? How do you understand your consumer in a better way that helps you expand and scale further?
Sure. So actually, it's easier if I can illustrate this with an example so
Yeah.
everyone can understand. One of our best-selling products is a shirataki noodle, which is a low-carb noodle that people love to buy and have. Now, if I were to simply be delusional about the fact that India is a noodle-loving country and just market my product to everyone, I think I would end up being nothing for no one. We are very clear about the fact that someone who buys a shirataki noodle is probably someone in their 20s or early 30s who wants to actually eat less carbs, who is actually a tier 1 city consumer by and large, who understands the implication of high carbohydrate diet on their body and stuff like that. And we actually our entire marketing campaign, our entire influencer marketing campaign is custom tailored to those people. Generalized products don't do well. That's my point.
Now let's move a little bit in terms of packaging. Do you really feel like you mentioned a lot of things like the challenges that you go through in your business, the restrictions, and how you overcome those things? You mentioned a little bit about brand positioning and product positioning. Now, when you talk about product positioning, do you think packaging really plays a big role in terms of how customers view your brand, how they see or feel your brand, especially when it comes to omni-channel presence retailing?
Yeah. I could go on for an entire day about this topic because I'm very, very passionate about design. But I think I'll break the response into two parts. First is what we are trying to communicate to the consumer, which is the primary function of packaging. And second is the regulatory aspect of it. The regulatory aspect is very straightforward. I think follow the law of the land in a very creative way. Don't fool around too much. Don't take too many pangas with anyone, right? Sell positivity, never sell negativity. You cannot build a brand out of scaring someone to buy your product. Just be very positive in your communication. This is my personal outlook. The first bit rather was about design, and I think we are one of those companies who basically try to talk to Indian consumers in a language that they understand, and we don't dumb it out to them. A lot of brands simply sell international products to the consumers. They just dumb down the communication way too much or make it too foreign sounding to them. And I think right in the center of that, the right amount of simplification, the right amount of regional design elements, the right amount of communication, small tweaks, like since most of our business comes from e-commerce, we try and make our products look very thumbnail friendly in our designs, so that even when you're browsing on a mobile phone or you're browsing it on a desktop, the product should be easy to identify, easy to recollect, right? We use a lot of science in that. We do a lot of 2-feet tests, 4-feet tests internally to optimize them to look great on screens of all sizes. We also keep the front of pack, which is the holy grail of identity of the packaging, very relevant to the product, very stress-free, very clearly actionable for the consumer. We don't push too much information out there, making it like a feature fest and confusing the consumer. We genuinely think that our consumers are smart enough to see through the intent of what we are doing, and it's our job and duty to convey the intent as clearly, as transparently as possible through our design. So great design, being differentiated by design, is one of the strongest levers and advantages you could have with your competition, especially today when all the channels of distribution are being disrupted. Being differentiated by design will give you that edge which you can stand next to a global behemoth and still be identified and preferred by the consumer just because of the way your product looks, feels, and
Communicates, you
reacts,
would say,
communicates
to the
to the
audience.
consumer.
So
Yes.
since you said about design, and again, that's a very interesting point that you
Yeah.
brought up. I actually was seeing the logo that you have, and I think Urban Platter stands, it has a clear sense of identity in the logo that you've used. So what is the thought process behind that elephant? You have an elephant in your logo. So I was actually curious to understand what is the thought process behind coming up with that logo, since you spoke about design.
I'll be very candid about it. For 2 years since our inception, our logo used to be a simple circle with Urban Platter written on it. It used to be a circle because Platter and Urban Platter, right? And someone just walked into our office and said, he was a Greek citizen, a good friend of mine. We used to buy olive oil from them, and he said, "You need a mascot." And something that can be used to identify a brand, and who better than an elephant, because you guys are Indians and elephants are everywhere. Apparently, at least notionally, they are everywhere. And that's when we started. Actually, that idea made sense to us. We are a plant-based company. Elephant is completely plant-based animal. Someone whom we resonate very well with as an organization. We are very grand in nature that way. So we just started putting elephant out there, and that became a quintessential part of our identity.
Oh, interesting. And that still carries on with the
Yes.
legacy that you're trying to build.
Yes, I think our logo, our consistency of branding, and sort of not changing it at all over a period of time are all part of the process wherein it is going to be like this. We are in this for long tail, and you can expect nothing but best out of the consistency of what we are trying to offer.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, sometime back, we were speaking about, content creation and how content plays a big role in educating audiences. So, can you touch upon how do you look at the education part? How do you really educate your audiences through storytelling? What are the different modes of storytelling you use, especially when you have so many 800 plus different products? How do you really communicate the right message?
So our company mission is to never sell the product, never tell the product, never tell the consumer to buy the product, but show them what they can do with it. And if what they can do with it or what they can accomplish with the product resonates with them, obviously they will buy the product, or at least they will enjoy the idea of buying the product someday. And we do this with a combination of creating in-house content. We create a lot of recipe content. We have a in-house content production team, a full-time influencer marketing team, that sort of gets the word out there. And the entire energy that we put in marketing is rather used to generate content for people, to educate and enlighten them with ideas and possibilities of what they can do with our products. Is just to empower them with possibilities. As a matter of fact, we have a studio in Mumbai where every weekend we conduct workshops wherein we, at a very nominal cost of 1,000 rupees per person or something like that, we educate people how to roll sushi. We educate them how to make Korean food and stuff like that. And this is all done in a very professional setup, professional environment. A professional chef conducts the workshop.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's a hands-on
And
workshop.
how's the response been?
We are sold out. Practically, we have a capacity of 16 to 20 people in one slot. This Saturday, we ended up having 28 of them in one workshop because groups of people just walked in and all. It was a little operational nightmare, but we figure ways to sort of
Right. So I
make
would
people
say it's very
comfortable.
experiential led,
It has to be like that.
that you want to try and educate the customers through experiences.
Yes, so obviously, so one thing is to enjoy a great bite of sushi at a place that you love, and the other thing is actually to learn it, personalize it, customize it, and make for your loved near and dear ones. And that's the eureka moment we want people to experience.
Now, coming to role of influencers, you touched upon role of influencers. So, how does that now today the lines are blurring when you look at PR, storytelling, digital marketing. I think there's a very thin line that separates all of these together, and influencer marketing is a large part of PR and storytelling today. So, how do you really integrate PR and influencers in your campaigns, and what is the one recent campaign that you've done with influencers perhaps that has really garnered you a lot of mileage in terms of visibility?
So, okay, I mean, we've been using influencer marketing since 2020. So that's not a alien concept to us, but I think the narrative and intent and output expectations of that have just evolved in a very different way over a period of time. Today, we use the strength of influencers to explain to their audience in their own style, in their own authenticity, what they can do with the product. So, for example, if you are a chef that is very well known for making Indian food content, we would actually partner with you to use one of our Korean food ingredients like a gochujang to make something like a pav bhaji with it, like a Korean style pav bhaji, rather than just tell you to make an authentic version of Korean dish with you, you know. So we basically let their own ideas, their authenticity, their originality, their emotional connect with their audience actually do the decision making. And we go for subtle partnerships rather than loud over the top partnerships. I'll give you a phenomenal success story that just happened over a period of last 6 months. Our best selling product today is Brazil nut. We are one of the largest sellers of Brazil nuts in India. We import them from South American countries, and we're thrilled to see the kind of love that Indians have given to such a simple product. Brazil nuts are supposed to be had one or two a day. They're very filling. They are rich in selenium. They help you regulate your thyroid health. It's a shameless plug. Apologies for that. We work with this influencer that I'm very good friends with called Neha Deepak Shah. And we were just contemplating that, Neha, how do we promote this product? And Neha is a chef. Her core forte is to take a product and create recipes out of it. And we just had an impromptu conversation, like probably what we're having right now at our office. And I said, why don't you give people a little bit behind the scenes look into your life rather than just cook something with it? Because Brazil nut is something you cannot cook a lot of things with. You'd rather not. Why don't you just tell people, if you believe in this product, how it's affected you, how it's such an important part of your life. And she just thought about it and she said this doesn't make sense and stuff like that. And on the 2nd of January, it was very impromptu, where she was actually having a Brazil nut in the morning, and she likes to have it stuffed in a date. So she just takes a date, she pits it, she puts a Brazil nut, and she has it as a snack. She said that if I'm having this, let me just tell people that this is something that I do every day religiously, and this empowers me. This helps me take care of my health. It keeps my skin great, health great, and it's just a routine that I cannot get over with. And she just created a 16-second video. That's it. A 16-second video telling her audience that, look, guys, this is what I do. And it's 2nd of January. It's a great time to form good habits. And wishing you a great year. And that video got like 16 to 17 million views over the next 7 days.
Oh, wow, that's
Our
massive.
sales skyrocketed to almost 700%, 7x of what they were pre this activity. And a lot of it has stayed with us. So, authenticity, genuinity, instead of telling people to buy the product, just tell them what it does for you. And if it's a great product that can stand on its merit, give it an opportunity to shine on its merit.
Yeah.
So, which is what we do every single day. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, that I think that's a very good piece of content that you guys
Yeah,
created.
that was a revelation for all of us. Yeah.
I mean, if you're saying 700% massive sales, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that means that influencer strategy is definitely working
100%.
for you.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any specific media article or coverage that you're particularly proud of, or some achievement that you're proud of that has again garnered you a lot of attention?
I would probably say that when we used to work with Equations PR, and you were actually trying to profile us and put us out there, and do a lot of good work for us.
Yeah.
I personally, while I am a believer of digital media, I feel that offline media is also very relevant in today's times. I don't quite recollect which article it was, but one of our investors actually reached out to us stating that your PR is doing its job quite well, because this
That's
is what
really
I
good
read,
to know.
and I really thought that it made its own impact. I
Yeah.
genuinely don't recollect what article it was. It was
Yeah.
one of those partnerships that we did with you, but it really made sense. And then I actually read the article, and it was one of the most well elaborately written article, which captured a little bit of Urban Platter, but also vegan
Yeah.
food trends and stuff like that. So it was very
Yeah.
well done. So,
No,
yeah.
no, glad to know that. I
Yeah.
mean, I think PR and storytelling definitely
Yeah.
helps a great deal in terms of brand building and positioning your brand.
Indeed.
Now, this show is also more to do with your personality, right? And on how you build your company. One, we spoke about, of course, your business, about how you build a business, a D2C brand, in a very complex categories such as food. You touched upon FSSAI restrictions and how you kind of navigate that for young startups today. But let's understand your personal side as well a little bit as well. So, if you could swap lives for a day with any of your employees,
Wow. Okay.
what role would you take up and why?
I would take the role of a designer.
Designer.
I love design. I absolutely love spending hours reading about design, understanding design, how design works, how consumers actually perceive design, and how design helps you carry your message without words to the consumers. I would totally take up the role of a designer.
What are the personal habits or values do you think has helped you most as a founder to keep pushing the envelope and to keep going?
Very simple first principle related things, just showing up to work every day, taking genuine interest in people that you work with very closely, and finding about how they are, what they are going through. Looking into some very simple things like your consumer satisfaction, your consumer complaints, your inventory, your cash, your health, whatever you define as health of your business, right? I mean, business is like a living organism. It will become unhealthy.
So, could I define
sometimes.
you as a very hands on entrepreneur that you pretty much know what is going on in every department?
I would say in that aspect I'm very hands-on, but I personally don't like to micromanage. I gauge people, and if they are happy, I know everything is going to be okay. So I mean, essentially hands-on, but definitely not too micromanaging in the way.
Right. So, from what I understand, empathy is one
Yeah,
aspect
absolutely.
that you really believe in terms of leading your team.
Absolutely.
Would
And
you
I
say
think
that?
I cannot emphasize enough on what you can achieve when you genuinely have interest in people who work with you. I've always formed this notion over a period of time that no one at Urban Platter actually works for me or works for Urban Platter. It works with Urban Platter,
Wow.
and that resets a lot of perspective in your head about how you are supposed to treat people, how you are supposed to handle a crisis, how you are supposed to handle someone who is great talent but not necessarily the best with your team.
Yeah.
It lays the template out there, and it's helped us make a lot of rational decisions. Not to say that we've not made mistakes. We've as any company or as probably other individual out there, we've made more mistakes than them, but it's just given us the resilience to stand up and relook at it from that lens and get better at it every single day. So that
Right.
helps.
Oh, that's amazing. Talking about mistakes, I think if you can give our viewers an example of whatever mistakes you've made, what are the three mistakes that they shouldn't make when they're probably starting out their business? Probably mistakes you guys have made. And if you could share your learnings with our viewers about three things that they shouldn't be probably
I would rather call
doing.
these three lessons that I learned by the virtue of this business. I've been an entrepreneur for 2 decades, but this business is where I've actually learned quite a lot about how things evolve. My first lesson would be when you start, don't be over optimistic, and definitely don't be over pessimistic also. And by this, I specifically want to say that don't have too many people influence your decisions or thoughts. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Just build on your conviction, and just don't take too much advice. I think too much advice is also bad for you. Like listen to yourself. The second thing would be get your numbers in line. Your basics of our business, some basics like your inventory health, your number of SKUs, your working capital, your stuff like that. The kind of stuff that may not necessarily sound very fancy, may not necessarily affect you or give you growth, but actually is a barometer of the health of your business. Get experts to help you identify that, help you explain to you in simple language about what that means, what you need to do to fix that, and just monitor the health of your business for a longest time. A lot of
Yeah.
people confuse brands and sales for business. They're
Right.
not. A business is overall profitability, overall well-being of employees, overall well-being of your customers, your vendors. A lot of people say that a brand is what the consumer experiences. I beg to highly differ over here. My personal view of branding is the smallest of the things, the smallest of the details that consumers don't necessarily see also. A brand is probably how you treat your employees. A brand is how you welcome your employee on the first day of their job. A brand is how your invoice looks when you ship your goods to the consumer. A brand is also how probably your visiting cards look, or whatever.
Right.
Everything comes together as a brand. So and those are the things that are very, very paramountly important to the business. And monitor the health of your business. Don't just look into your sales or your profits or your vanity
Yeah.
metrics that sound very
So
fashionable
have those
lately.
systems and processes in check, I would
Yes,
say.
yes, and
And
and last but not the least is keep reinventing yourself. I think a lot of people just get into comfort zone. They don't necessarily take a lot of risks. They probably take a lot of feedback from multiple people wherein they feel that they've arrived or something like that. I think it's very important to be in a position where you constantly seek the discomfort of something new. You keep
yeah.
learning things, you keep evolving. Don't be emotionally attached to what you've built. It's someone is going to break it anyway. Better be
Yeah.
you than someone else.
Right.
So keep evolving, get out of comfort zone, learn to manage your business, and be very realistic with your expectations. Yeah,
Yeah, I think these are some amazing
yeah.
insights, Chirag.
And they work for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about. I know building a business is no mean feat. It's a high pressure job. It's a 24/7 job, right? Because as entrepreneurs, there are more failures than successes. Of course, success comes eventually with time. So, how do you really decompress, or how do you really reset yourself? Do you do something to really recharge yourself after a stressful day at work?
So my perspective on this is slightly different, but anyway, it's as good as anyone's.
Yeah.
Uh, Personally, I have a few hobbies. I love to play chess a lot. I read a lot.
Okay.
I like to spend time with my family, my son. I love watching a lot of content, especially with my son. So stuff like that, I work out every day. I think that's a great source of sort of helping me form a perspective
Yeah.
and decompress me. I've rarely walked stress to home, to be very honest with you. I genuinely don't like to take a lot of baggage of my work home and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's something I practice very mindfully over a period of time. And I wouldn't say I've perfected it, but by and large, I end up
So you
doing
probably
it.
disconnect when it's
I disconnect
required.
because there's always going to be tomorrow to do it, right? I mean, in the moment you may feel the euphoria of it, but there's always going to be tomorrow. So it's better to actually do your justice to the other job, be it at home or work, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And apart from that, one of the things I love doing a lot is traveling, traveling for work, traveling for. I practically my lines of traveling for leisure or work are very blurred. So I travel a lot, and when I travel, I do meet my vendors or stuff like that. I do discover or visit a trade show, and by the virtue of my business, I get to travel a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
very, very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And that sort of keeps me very inspired, very motivated. I take feedback from a lot of peers and entrepreneurs in other countries about how they approach and solve problems, and that helps me form a very grounded, rounded perspective about what's to come for us, just in case this happens, and maybe share insights with them also. And
Anything that you've learned in the last, say, 3 months, 6 months that you'd like to share? Of what you've learned that
I
has helped you in your
100%.
business?
I visited Korea. We import a lot of food from Korea. I met a couple of our vendors over there. Um, I used to think a couple of things, right? I used to think that Indians are very hospitable people till I met Koreans. I've never seen hospitality as warm as Koreans.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about inclusivity of culture. It brought a lot of perspective about me, about how to sort of accept a perspective that is so contrary to yours, but also live at peace with it. Um, I completely am obsessed with how Koreans treat hygiene, compliance, and quality control in their facilities. It is not something that is defined or necessary to do beyond a point, but the way they do it and the way they take pride in it is something so inspiring, and that sort of led us to reinventing the curve for us. And sometimes as businesses, we do a lot of things that are bare minimum required by law, and don't do things that are required to get to that level of excellence. When you see excellence, it inspires you to actually outdo yourself. So internally,
Right.
we've taken some measures to sort of build for excellence.
Oh,
So
amazing. So you're learning from those sort of
absolutely,
communities or
100%.
countries,
Yeah.
and then trying to imbibe that in your
100%. And
business.
seeing is believing, right? When you see that culture,
Yeah.
when you see it for yourself, it's not talk, it's actually someone has acted on it. So when you see it, it's deeply inspiring, and it deeply motivates you to actually take those learnings and put them in your own perspective, in your own organization. So it enriches you in unknown ways.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, every business, every entrepreneur has a role model. We
Yeah.
all have role models. Anybody that has inspired you in your journey of building Urban Platter?
Honestly, when I started this business, I was deeply inspired by this chain of stores in US called Trader Joe's. And I think essentially what we've done is we've tried and built the Trader Joe's of India. So that business is something which has deeply, deeply inspired me. The way they do, the way their supply chain works. I've read extensively about them. I've even met a couple of people from that company over a period of time over at trade shows and stuff like that. So that has been extremely deeply satisfying. No particular entrepreneur role models. I think I take a lot of inspiration from our investors also. They have some of the kindest and most inspiring things to say when it comes to running their businesses. To be very honest with you, raising money from a family office led setup gives you a very deep insight into talking to people who don't necessarily give you advice as to how to grow your business, but more around how to build a great business, a
Yeah.
resilient business. So
Right.
my inputs and conversations around with them have given me deep perspective into sticking back to first principles, managing things like cash flows and stuff like that, not bothering too much about top line and stuff like that. It's always a byproduct of some building something
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So it's always kept me humbled, grounded. Lot more inspirations, but I've always deeply been inspired by Apple about how they execute ideas, not more so the company,
Yeah.
just execution. I've learned deeply about execution. I've really and personally admired Mitsubishi from Japan a lot about how they execute things. So keep reading about things, you learn a thing or two, you move on. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is the one thing that your team knows
Yeah.
about you, but the world doesn't? And
Oh,
something that
wow.
you would like to discuss on the show today that the world needs to know.
I'm a very transparent person that way. My team knows, but the world doesn't. I'm actually, I don't know what that would constitute, but I'm okay. So, yeah, I could definitely say one thing is that I am a very reluctant person when it comes to speaking in public forum or stuff like that. I'm a very shy talker. I
I
don't
think you're
talk a
doing a
lot.
fantastic job,
Yeah,
Chirag, today.
but when I am in company of people that I thoroughly I'm comfortable with, wherein I find you trustworthy, I find you worthy of opening up to you. I am someone I can go on and on for hours also. So at my office, which is almost like a second home to me, if not my first. I'm usually very outspoken in my own element, which is very different from usually how I end up
So you have
probably
two
looking in
different
public.
personalities in office and outside office. You're different. Could I say that?
In a way, yes, because of the lack of knowing familiar people around you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And another interesting question is that came to my mind is if your entrepreneurial journey were turned into a Netflix series, what would it be called?
A hungry fool.
Hungry Fool.
Yeah, I love that. I love this. There's this. Address to graduating students by Steve Jobs, where he ends it with a tagline that resonated very deeply with me. It helped me during a very dark phase of my life, which was stay hungry and stay foolish.
Yeah, it's
So,
an
a
amazing
hungry
book.
fool, that works for me. And
That's
it works for
amazing.
my line of business also.
Amazing. Now tell us, looking ahead with Urban Platter, what's next? If you had to start all over again with Urban Platter, knowing what you know now today,
Yeah.
what would you do differently from a business perspective? If you had to rebuild the company completely, knowing what you know now today.
I would. Today is a very competitive, very different landscape than what it was 10 years ago. Today is a very evolved, very well educated, very well networked consumer. So, essentially, the setup is so different from what it was a decade ago. Everything would have to be done differently. But I would probably do three things very differently. I would, if I were to start from scratch today, I would build excellence in one category over the next 3 to 5 years. I would not focus too much on everything else. It's just distraction and noise.
Right.
Just become very well known for one thing. I would, when we started, we had the luxury of doing too much and getting away with it. That's
Right.
not a lot of businesses get
It
that.
worked back then,
It
but
worked back then.
might not work
So
in
back
this
then, availability
instant.
was a very big differentiator. Today, excellence is a differentiator, right?
Amazing.
The second thing would be, I would probably start with, on day one, I would have a marketing team. I would not necessarily have, marketing is something that we organically built over a period of time, because as a legacy business, there was no pressure on getting it right. And I would not build the marketing team to get me sales. I would build the marketing team to set the narrative.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I've learned from you and that also is very inspiring, and probably I've never told you this,
Yeah.
is that as a marketeer, we build as entrepreneurs, we build businesses, and we do it for multiple reasons. There are multiple motivations and there are multiple aspects driving the drive of an individual or a business, right?
Yeah.
As a PR consultant, as a PR professional, you help businesses like us identify the right narrative that will help us gain credibility of the consumer and the trade. That would be
Absolutely.
very different than the narrative set in our head. It's essentially, I say this very often, that as a business, our product has to talk to the consumer in a language that they understand. What you essentially do is, as at companies, you help companies communicate to the investor fraternity or to the consumer fraternity
Consumer.
about the business in a language that they understand and that is where they can actually have a sense of connection with the messaging, and that's
Absolutely.
very difficult at times for businesses to simplify themselves, so I would say a marketing team on day one to set the narrative in that direction.
No, absolutely.
And probably I would, the third thing I would do differently is simply uh, be more patient, be more first principles driven, if at all I could be, and build a business with a vision that it can last for the next 50 years. It's not important for every business to last for 50 years, but it has to be one of the considerations that you have to think very long term and do the right things so that you can withstand a lot of unpredictable scenarios and outcomes in the next 5 to 10 years. When you think 50 years, 5 to 10 years don't necessarily matter, so you will think differently and act
Yeah.
differently.
Okay, so great, Chirag. Those are very valuable lessons. I think you have, tried to encapsulate in a very nice way. Tell me, what does the next 12 months or 24 months look like for Urban Platter? What are the new things you're building right now, currently? What are the new projects you're working on, new initiatives you're working on currently?
So, honestly, in the next 2 to 3 year time frame, what we essentially aspire to do is strengthen on what we are actually very good at. When I say strengthen, I specifically mean two things. Be very consistent and more consistent at it, and secondly also innovate and make the consumer experience more delightful. We cannot be taking for granted what is actually doing very well for us. It has to evolve in a very positive direction, so we like more SKUs in adjacent categories or complementing categories, stuff like that. Apart from that, in the next 2 to 3 years, I believe we'll be at a point wherein my ultimate goal is to actually take the company public.
Okay.
So we'll be working in that direction, and sort of starting to take, have really started to take baby steps in that direction, reinforce very strong corporate governance, some sort of initiatives that help us make a very responsible corporate citizen and a value creation vehicle for all of our investors and future investors and stuff like that. I mean, essentially, I feel as a business, we owe a lot to society also.
Yeah.
And we'll be covering those bases and starting our journey in that direction. And one more initiative that is very deeply personal to me is every food business in India, including ours, we are no exception. We end up consuming a lot of environmental unfriendly products. And our job is to become a more responsible, more sensitive, more considerate environmental friendly companies. So we've now started making progress in the direction of monitoring our carbon footprint, minimizing it, making everyday changes to introduce better, higher quality experiences while minimizing our carbon footprint also. All the steps
Yeah.
that
And I think that is a
genuinely
need
matter.
of the hour actually. A lot of brands today are
100%.
moving in that direction.
100%.
So that's a need of the hour.
Yeah.
So what is exciting you about the food industry right now as we speak? Are there any emerging trends you're seeing currently that excites you to build in that direction?
So my biggest excitement is the overall growth of consumption that I see. I think we are one of the most under-consuming countries, if not an over-consuming country that I witness. And what we are witnessing is sizable growth in consumption. The other trend that we are seeing is consumers becoming very clear about what they don't want to eat, right? That gives a lot of clarity to businesses like ours and a lot of others about in which direction do you want to innovate and
Right.
what is it that you want to stand for. I mean,
And why
today
would you say that? Because we're a population, we're a huge population in India. So why would you say that? I mean,
I would say that, see, look, today a lot of consumers are actually not wanting to have sugar in their diet. A lot of consumers want to minimize or have less carbs, or they want to have more protein in their diet.
they're more
To each
aware,
their
I
own.
think.
They're more aware about what are the consequences, what are their health goals, what is it that they want to become over a period of time. And the kind of ingredients that they want to invest in to accomplish those goals, and that kind of gives us clarity, and that also creates a perfect ground for a lot of new brands to identify these trends and offer consumers products and innovation in that category. I mean, 3 years ago there used to be no category called no sugar ice cream, which is a very very big category today.
Right.
So clarity of consumers in these directions will give opportunities, will give birth to new businesses, new brands, new avenues, and it's an exciting time to be an innovative disruptor.
Yeah. So we all know that Urban Platter is sold on Amazon, Nature's Basket,
Yeah.
a lot of these super specialty stores as well, 1,000 plus super specialty stores. You also have 3 offline stores in
yes.
Mumbai. How does that pan out? How are your sales with respect to online versus offline? How is the offline tick? Is offline seeing an uptick in terms of sales? How is that going for you?
So 80% of our sales are digital. Now that includes marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart. That also includes our own website. That also includes quick commerce platforms, which by the way are scaling at unbelievable rates lately. About 80% of our sales are absolutely digital, absolutely not offline. And the rest 20% come out of general trade and modern trade and horecas. For us, of late, institutional supplies is becoming a very significant driver of our business. And that to me is a very exciting space because it's a very high velocity business. It's a business where margins are slightly lesser, but the turnarounds are very fast. And I think once you become part of someone's success, they want more of you. And that's probably the inflection point we are at. What we are seeing, and that is also strategic in nature, is our offline business is almost at a plateaued out rate, and we don't necessarily see that degrowing at all. That will continue to grow, but not as much as the digital businesses. And that is relevant for a brand like ours. I will not say that that could be the case for everyone. For a brand like Urban Platter, where we are built on niches, we are built on specialty and gourmet, digital makes much more sense. Knowing your consumer makes much more sense, which is very difficult to do offline.
Absolutely.
So,
because the consumption is more online, you would say, with your consumers.
when people buy online, you can profile them better. You can understand them better. You can have a better dialogue with them. Essentially, for offline channels, the retailer becomes your customer and not the consumer, right? And that's when you start losing connect with your consumer. You don't necessarily know them. There are some select high-end modern trade retailers like Nature's Basket or Food Square or Food Stories, so on and so forth. Trusted partners that we work very closely with, where we actually have stores within these businesses, and it's actually like a mini Urban Platter store. We conduct.
I visited your store, so I've seen the kind of setup you all have. So it's pretty
We
interesting.
continue to grow offline with those partnerships and not necessarily a lot of your general stores and stuff like that. That being said, still about 1,000 plus specialty stores across India is a significant milestone, and we continue to serve them.
That's amazing. So good luck on that journey.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, now we'll have a quick rapid fire round.
Sure.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So tell me one product you can't live without.
Urban Platter product has to be almond milk.
Okay. The best advice you've ever got as a founder.
Customers see through quality, no matter what. I think those words stayed with me. Yeah.
I think one of your investors mentioned that.
Yes, Mr. Bhatt, yes.
The craziest marketing campaign you've seen.
Outside Urban, I've seen craziest marketing campaign. I would totally say the launch of Super You brand. I was really impressed by the kind of noise the product made with Ranveer Singh and all of that. It was pretty innovative. I was very impressed by it. It was crazy.
The protein bars that they've launched. I saw that too. It was interesting. The most ridiculous food trend you've ever tried.
I've not tried it, but the idea of an avocado on a dosa is repulsive to me, with all due respect to both the dishes.
Absolutely. If you had to eat just one Urban Platter product for a week, what would it be?
I can survive on shirataki noodles. I love Asian food. I love shirataki noodles, yes.
First thing you do when you wake up?
I typically check my phone. I shouldn't do that, but I do that. Yeah.
Which Urban Platter product do your friends or family rate the most from your stash?
I've seen this is a slightly mixed bag of questions. So, couple of products I've seen a lot of my friends and family and my neighbors in the residential apartment where I stay typically order a lot of almond milk, a lot of shirataki noodles, a lot of hing. For some reason, we make a great hing.
Okay.
So that amuses me. But these are some products that I've seen a lot of repeats of.
So, guys, we are at the end of the episode today, and thank you, Chirag, for being a special
Pleasure.
guest for today. And as we go along, we'll be releasing interesting episodes of founders who've built and scaled their businesses. So, till then, stay tuned. This is your host Priyanka Bhatt, and till then, keep building, stay curious, and stay inspired.